Good evening and welcome to the regular town council meeting, July 7th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please. Present.
Councilor Sims.
Present.
Councilor Willis.
Present.
Councilor Kush. Present. Councilor Seagull.
Present.
Councilor Dearborn.
Present.
Councilor Hamblin.
Present.
All right, now we'll move on to the acceptance of the minutes of the June 2nd, 2026 regular town council meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any comments, changes? All those in favor? 7 yeas. And now we'll move into open public communication. This is a time where people can come to the podium and speak on items that are not on our agenda tonight. If you'll just come to the podium, state your name and your address, and we're going to do probably 3 minutes or so. So, yep.
Good evening, council members. This is Ken Curtis, 118 South Street. I'd like to tell you that I'm a 54-year taxpayer. I like to say that each time. I wonder if, okay, anyway. I have 3 items that I don't get. Council members talk at great length about supporting and attracting new businesses to the town. And, but I find that 3 members on the council aren't in favor of an established business, and they don't seem to have much interest in your continuing the many benefits that I think that Shaw Brothers brings to this community. The Shaw Brothers Family Trust does a lot of work for this town and gives a lot, and they should be applauded, not derided. I don't get it. It's come to my attention that seniors applying for tax relief must send in a copy of their driver's license with the application. Now, there's no requirement to vote. Just show up and vote. I don't get it. For the past few years, preserving rural land from development is a major theme for this council. Yet, solar panels continue to chew up rural farmland each year. I'm not sure there's a difference between solar panels or housing. So preserving rural land, or is this just good for feel-good words by the council? Again, I don't get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'll make this quick because I got to pick up my daughter from field hockey. I appreciate. My name's Brianna Meister. I live on 71 Queen Street, and I'm following up on behalf of the Gorham Community Alliance Quarry Impact on Health and Safety Group on the decision you made last month to move the Shaw Quarry zoning change to the Planning Board. I wanted to express my disappointment in this vote. I did want to say thanks to those of you who voted no and who took the residents' concerns seriously. The decision to move this forward in the process will unfortunately create more impact on people trying to just experience quality of life and will create higher tension between stakeholders. I wanted to reiterate that the town vision talks about promoting sustainability and quality of life, as well as promoting collaboration between all stakeholders. I do appreciate that you have voted to hire an expert consultant to examine and potentially update town quarry ordinances. I respectfully ask that you consider fully investing in the quarry ordinance review process with detail and attention. I ask that you see this review process through before you make a final vote on the zone change. Thank you for your time. I wanted to add, not related to the quarry as well, just something positive too, that I took my kids to the Baxter House Library, or the museum, and it was awesome. So just wanted to add that in as well. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roger Brown, 52 Day Road. The remarks that I have for you tonight are related to an item that happens to be on the agenda, but it's unclear whether you'll take public comments when it comes up on the agenda, and that's the open space plan. I can give you my remarks now, or I can come back
Yep,
later.
we can do it during the item. Yep,
Okay, you
yep,
promise?
yep.
Promise you?
I will ask for public comment. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Bilodeau. I live on Shamrock Drive. I'm sure my face is familiar to you guys from the past several months. I have been up here many times speaking against the Amazon proposal, the Amazon sale, and you've heard many of us speak for the past several months in opposition to this sale. What I haven't heard is why some of you who voted for the sale are in favor of it. And if I missed that, I apologize, but I would love to know why you are in favor of this. I see so many negatives to this, but I've never heard any of you publicly say why you're in favor of it. I know that some people think that it will reduce the tax burden or help stabilize budgets. Many of us have crunched the numbers. That hasn't proven to be true. Amazon has promised to bring jobs to the area that might help the local economy, but they haven't stated how many of those jobs are full-time versus part-time or seasonal. They haven't stated what the wages will be. So again, what benefit is that? In terms of the cons, the increased traffic is going to be horrific. I think the DOT meeting pointed that out. The environmental concerns, the pollution concerns, the safety concerns, you've heard it all before. I want to know why. Why are you in favor of this? Like the decision to rezone the quarry land, you know, it seems like you don't have much regard or esteem or respect for residents on the eastern portion of Gorham. You're looking at those neighborhoods and thinking, industrial is the way to go. Let's expand the quarry. Who cares about the residents or what they're going to experience there? I don't understand some of the decisions being made. The open space item that's coming up tonight, a lot of the land for this Amazon is considered threatened and endangered. Again, why are you voting to destroy that? I just would like to know, what is the overall gain for the town of Gorham? How do the residents benefit from that? How do the residents benefit from a quarry expansion? It lines the profits, the bottom line for one business, but how do the residents or the town, what does the town gain from that? If there is something, please publicize that, because I'm not seeing it, and I know many of us are not seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Michelle Littlefield, 15 Burton Drive. I also own Third Space Market over on 18 Elm Street. And I wrote a little something to tell you all that I'm thankful that it's an Amazon warehouse. And that's because a less controversial company might not have invigorated as many people to uncover that expanding industrial at the Amazon site itself is a poor use of town-owned land relative to its potential. I know just as well as you the issues we face with growing burdens of residential property taxes. But to quote from the June 2025 Economic Development Strategic Plan under target opportunity areas, quote, solidify the best use and or mix of the 140 acres of town-owned land. The mix of potential uses ranges from industrial, commercial, and mixed-use development. Incentives could be offered for strategic projects that align with economic goals. That points you to Appendix 2, which reads, quote, Gorham has the least commercially zoned land of any community in the analysis, and the second lowest amount of mixed-use land only to Gray. It also has the second highest amount of residentially zoned land and the second highest industrial zone land in that competitive set. Another quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's not in the economic strategic plan, but the math and the numbers make me think it should be. Bigger quarries and more warehouses are not our knight in shining armor. You might think that you need to proceed here anyway because what I'm asking you to consider is potential. But I understand that the proceeds from the sale don't go to pay off the note early. They would go into a fund to acquire more land. And the development will most likely be TIFed, even if we don't give the incentives or the rebates to Amazon, the money from this parcel is going to be earmarked for economic development use cases. So of all the things I've learned about this project, the one that stands out the most to me is that it provides no immediate residential tax relief. And so I argue that you'd be asking us to buy into this warehouse because of future potential too. If Amazon comes to town, it's clear to me that my business is the likeliest to close first. Expanding e-commerce is killing small business. Other residents have tried to argue with me that this will bring me business, but I ask how. I'm not even allowed a sandwich board sign on Main Street to attract the cars we already have, which would have amounted to over 6 figures of revenue for my business. There is very little support for small business as is, so what support is planned to help us coexist with a behemoth? I haven't heard of any yet. I understand that there's a process and that we have to go through it, and this achieves a checkbox on an expired comprehensive plan, but I urge you to reconsider studying the value of this parcel in particular, what it could bring us for tax relief if used properly, and the considerable amount of damage that you are doing to the lives of those of us who continue to come up here and stand at this podium each month asking the same questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Catherine Atwood. My address is 293 North Gorham Road, Gorham, Maine. I am here tonight in my personal capacity and professionally, once again, as a board member of the Friends of the Presumpscot River, and wanted to just throw out a little more fun news again, that our fish release was in the Gorham Times, so if you didn't catch that, check it out. It was really happy, and we need more of that. And I am also back again to mention the Amazon warehouse, because I said I would come back every month until it was resolved. And by golly, if I'm not here next week, something has happened. You should, or next month. But I did want to let the town council know that the DEP has granted a public comment meeting to receive public comment on this project, which is a very serious indicator that there are many grave concerns with this project, and urge the town not to make any moves forward until those DEP concerns are resolved. I was told an anecdote of a town that went ahead and approved at the town level and let a developer continue to build a solar farm. It turns out they were in violation of their wetland ordinances. At the state level, the DEP had to come in and tear down, enforce their ordinances they did in the town level, tear it down. They will never, at the fisheries department told me, they will never permit that land now. So the stakes are really grave here of what we need to get right when we have the time to get it right. It's much harder and much more expensive to try to remediate damage instead of stopping it in the first place. I also have a comment on the open plan, but are we doing comments about that?
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll save that one. And then just say that we're preparing also our organization with a growing coalition of environmental organizations, watching this very closely and preparing remarks for the planning board, concerns about the acreage calculations that are happening here, and using the word of the paid consultant of the applicant to verify this, and really urge the town to get some independent third-party verification of this, which we're preparing to also review. It really has to be gotten right at this stage, and we thank you for doing that and ensuring we protect it, because it's good for all of us. It's not just a bummer. It's actually really valuable to our survival as humans. So thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else coming up to the podium, we'll move on to Councilor Communications. And I am going to start on my right with Councilor Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One thing worthy of reporting, relevant to a couple of the comments. Amazon, there was a Maine Department of Transportation meeting here in Gorham a couple weeks ago. I think it was June 18th. So it was a piece of the process for their traffic movement permit. So that was an interesting meeting. There was a number of residents in attendance. There wasn't really, well, they actually did take some public comments off the cuff, which was appreciated. I wasn't able to stay for all of it, but I did, one of my observations from it, the State Department of Transportation, they have a relatively specific set of, criteria and goals that they are working towards with that process. And it was apparent to me that the goals of the State Department of Transportation aren't really particularly aligned with the interests of the residents of Gorham. What I heard was mostly the State Department of Transportation staff talking about what are the things we could do to change movement in and around Main Street in the village so we could essentially try to get more cars through more quickly. Like the flow of traffic is really their top priority, not the safety of the residents of Gorham, not the vitality of the small businesses in Gorham Village, but how to move as many vehicles through Gorham Village as possible, and through Westbrook as well, because both of those are impacted by the proposed site. So, I know we've talked about this a lot. We've raised questions about, how can we address this process and really try to, hear the concerns of the people that are going to be impacted. Previously, we've kind of been told that like the process will figure all that out, and I'm starting to question how accurate that is, and I do think that we as a group are going to need to think about things that we can do to kind of, take some action to, if this thing is going to move forward, really force Amazon to address the concerns that are valid, that we're going to have to find a way that everybody can still, live without this thing being an overly huge burden on people's livelihoods. So, there's still a lot of process to play out. I think we just need to really be listening to our residents and trying to be responsive as best we can. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dearborn?
Nothing to report.
Councilor Siegel?
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate the library. Spring into summer was awesome. Thank you to the town and school staff that worked the hot dogs, and it was in between tornado warnings, it raining, not raining, all of this stuff. I thought the library staff did great at making some, last minute calls to make sure everyone could have the most fun. It was great. And I also want to say congratulations to the Gorham Pride group. It was a great event. It was very nice, very low key, not as wild as some of the other towns. And so it was just a lovely place. And a thank you to Public Works as well for their recent painting projects. It's always good stuff, and I never think Public Works gets enough credit for things. Lastly, I'm sorry if anyone else was going to announce this, but congratulations to the boys baseball team. I mean, having some statewide winners is awesome. So congrats. We should get him here for a meeting. And that's all from me.
Thank you. Councilor Willis?
Nothing to report this evening.
Councilor Hamblin?
Just a couple of comments quickly. This week I ran into a report called Why People Move to Maine. It's actually a state report that came out in January 2025. Never heard of it. I was kind of surprised. It was referenced in the Portland Press Herald a few days ago. And it implies after many decades of declining population in the state of Maine, over 80,000 people have moved into Maine since COVID. A huge change in the demographics. So people mostly from New England, but we're also starting to see a lot of people from Florida and California. And they're beginning to think of Maine as a climate haven. It's a way to get away from some of the crazy things in the world. And they bring with them a higher income than what we're seeing, and they enjoy the outdoor spaces, which I found very strong in people moving to Maine, and it kind of fits in with Gorham. And I thought about a little bit, I realized how much Gorham in the state of Maine has changed since I've lived here, over 60 years. And what we can do to preserve some of it before it changes, because it's going to keep changing, and it may even change more rapidly. And it made me think of the Presumpscot Land Trust. I'm not sure if anybody knows what the Presumpscot Land Trust is, but they preserve land over multiple towns. I think they started as the Gorham Land Trust. They moved into Presumpscot Land Trust. Within the last few months, they started a fund for Gorham's future. They're trying to raise money today to preserve land in the future for Gorham. So, and they want to preserve Gorham open spaces. So if you're interested, the Presumpscot Land Trust is a great organization, is doing a wonderful thing. They have a lot of trails all through the area. You could become part of the trust very easily. And if you're interested in giving some money and talking about preserving the future of Gorham, great organization to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kush?
All set, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anything else either, so I will move on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In no particular order, as the public is probably aware now, we are transitioning to mechanical carts, not totes, this fall, likely in September, which will replace our pay-as-you-throw program for trash and recycling. That being said, we're starting to roll out some public updates as we get a little closer to that. Casella will also be doing some educational efforts in conjunction with the municipal staff. And ultimately, all eligible properties will have these totes delivered. You do not have to participate in the program if you don't want to, and we'll get more information out as we go. I'm happy to report that, change gears, that Roby Park and the playground is progressing a lot faster now. And we're hoping in the relative near future that the playground component will be open to the public, and there's still going to be some minor work on the entrances that'll be going on, and it'll be fenced off. So stay tuned for some updates on that. Senior property tax assistance program applications are due on August 1st, and we're taking applications for that program right now for qualified seniors. South Street, I believe our contractor was out there today, starting on the sidewalks down to Running Springs Road. On the westerly side of the road, we'll be getting a new sidewalk and pedestrian lighting into the village. We also we have some additional PAX funds, so we may be doing some additional work as part of that project, but that'll be going on the next couple weeks. So please bear with us, and it should be a nice product moving forward. And reminder, we have the food trucks up in Little Falls on Thursday evenings starting at 4 this summer. And lastly, starting Tuesday, July 21st, the clerk's office will be staying open till 6:30 p.m. every Tuesday night moving forward. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the town manager? All right. We'll move on to the school committee report. Oh, we don't have one because it's July, right? It's just because I see you in the audience. Sorry. I'm like, wait. And you're like, no. All right. Nope. They're taking a break. They're on vacation. We're going to skip that. We're going to move on to the public hearing.
Public hearing number 1 on item 2026-7-1. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to issue 2 renewal special amusement licenses to Benjamin Smith, 1 Railroad Avenue, doing business as Sidecar and Junction Bowl, administrator sponsored.
All right. Public hearing is now open. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Proposed order 2666, order that the town council issue a new special amusement license to Benjamin Smith, 1 Railroad Avenue, for Sidecar and Junction Bowl.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Sims. We have all the documentation before us. So does anybody have any questions or comments? All right. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026-7-2, action to consider approving a charitable gambling license application, Councilor Phillips sponsored. Proposed order 26-67, order that the town council approves a charitable gambling license application for the Reed Allen Community Fund Casino Night on Saturday, November 14th, 2026 at Junction Bowl.
Is there a motion? Councilor Sims, yep. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Siegel. I don't, just explain what this is.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a procedural item as required by the state of Maine that the municipal officers, which is the council, sign off on a gambling license. We typically don't have this, but this is a charitable event for the Reed Allen Foundation, which happens every year, and obviously goes to a good cause and donates money for significant events that happen in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026-7-3, action to consider writing off uncollectible ambulance billings, Finance Committee sponsored. Proposed order 2668, ordered that the town council authorizes removing $98,425.69 in uncollectible ambulance billings effective June 30th, 2026, as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Kush. I don't know if either one of you want to explain what this is. It's up to.
You're welcome to take it.
Thank you. This is an item that pops up every year. Believe it or not, this number that we write off every year has been going down. I think that this is for a 2-year period, FY22, FY23. One's about 47 and change, one's 50 and change. And the council, in conjunction with the fire department, made some changes in how we do billing a couple of years ago, which has helped reduce this amount. This does go to collections, so it's been failed to be collected at collections, and we need to get it off of our books. Thank you.
Okay, so this is for 2 years total, correct?
It is 2 years, and we typically do it in 2-year blocks. So this is FY22 and FY23.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026, 7-4, action to consider writing off uncollectible camper taxes, Finance Committee sponsored. Proposed Order 2669, ordered that the Town Council writes off $66,500 in taxes from 4 campers no longer located in Gorham and considered uncollectible as recommended by the Finance Committee.
There a motion?
So moved.
Oh, all right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hamlin. All right, do you want to?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is something that happens every couple of years or every year as needed, and these are campers that are not registered for the road that essentially are at a property as a fixed asset that have been assessed for property taxes, and no longer in Gorham and considered uncollectible.
Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026, 7-5, action to consider adopting an open space trails and master plan, administrative sponsored. Proposed Order 2670, ordered that the Town Council adopts the open space and trails master plan for the Town of Gorham as recommended by the Open Space and Trails Master Plan Committee and presented by Northeast Planning and ALA. North Star Planning and ALA, sorry.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Willis. All right, and as we heard, some people want to speak on this, so we will open public comment before we do our deliberations. So if anyone would like to come to the podium and speak on this item, we're going to do about 3 minutes. Just same thing, just tell us your name and where you're from.
All right. I am Catherine Atwood, 293 North Gorham Road, Gorham, Maine. And on the board of the Friends of the Presumpscot River, a local nonprofit organization that exists to help protect the Presumpscot River and the entire watershed and the water quality and the environment, and has been in existence for 20 plus years. Is actually part of the comprehensive plan, is an indication or recommendation to work collaboratively with our organization on the recommendations we make, which we're very appreciative of. And I did want to speak in favor of this in the open plan and say it looks like a lot of hard work went into this and a lot of thoughtful consideration and time and a lot of expertise. I was reading that opening page which lists all the people that were part of this and say thank you to everybody. It includes, let's see, I wrote this down, 3 different consulting firms, North Star Planning, Aceto Kimball Landscape Architecture, Seiler Climate Consulting, and then Tom, Carol, and Damon, our Director of Community Development, Town Planner, Assistant Town Planner, and then a large group of people that were part of the committee, Jen, James, Rob, Seven, thank you, Charlie, and Ernie, who I'm not sure are here tonight, but to say it seems like a lot went into this, and there's a lot in there to reflect on and help guide us forward. I also wanted to just note, I do think the wayfinding system looks really great. So thanks for the effort that went into that. And professionally, add a note, just so it doesn't seem like I'm someone who spends all my time at community meetings. I am the creative director and brand manager of a consulting agency of 70 people that I helped grow to a multi-million-dollar company with 800 plus clients around the world. So I do have experience with comprehensive plans and guiding of growing organizations and making money off it too. So I think there could be a great balance of protecting our resources and being financially strong together in that respect. And I encourage the council to adopt this plan tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Brown again, 52 Day Road. A few comments about the process that's gone into this. The town of Gorham has a wonderful service whereby citizens can sign up to receive advance notice of meetings by email. I'm subscribed to that service and I get notices of Town Council, Planning Board, Historic Preservation Commission, French Language Discussion Group, but I've never received an email of a notice of an Open Space Committee meeting. I'm not suggesting that there's any bad intent. I just think this has slipped through the cracks. We haven't really had an opportunity to observe what's been going on because it's tough to go to meetings when you're not aware they're happening. That aside, there was a very good public open house that the committee held last June. And 4 months after that, having seen nothing on the town website about activity, having seen nothing on the consultant's website, GorhamOpenSpace.me.com. I contacted one of the committee members and discovered quite by chance that there was a meeting on October 22nd, which I managed to attend. And everything was above board. It was fine. It was just a perfectly normal public meeting. And I think I was the only member of the public that hadn't specifically been invited for some specific purpose there. After the meeting, this was described on the agenda as to present the first draft of the master plan. This was back in October. At the end of the meeting, the committee members were invited to submit their comments, suggestions to the consultants for review and final revision. And although I hadn't specifically been invited to submit my comments, I did anyway. I got together with a group of my neighbors, about 20 people, and we emailed a 3-page letter to the planning division and asked them to circulate it to the committee, the consultants, and everyone involved. The letter that we sent appears to have been totally ignored. I went through the letter, I went through all the changes we suggested. Nothing, it's like they never got the letter. I don't know whether there was a breakdown in communication or whether they just chose to ignore what I had to say because they know I'm crazy. The draft that was attached, or the final plan that was attached to the agenda for tonight's meeting, the text is almost exactly the same as the first draft, with the addition of an acknowledgements page, the 2-page implementation table that comes at the end, and a couple of paragraphs in the goals and strategies section. What is left are a bunch of typos and errors that could be easily corrected. A few grammatical errors. There are layout issues such as headings, subheadings on the bottom line of one page, and then the text of that heading not starting until the next page. There are a couple of bold section headings that have spelling errors. And there are significant content errors, like the inclusion of the Narragansett Game Sanctuary under the Little Falls mini master plan, but no mention of it under either Gorham Village or South Gorham. Tonight's draft of the plan also appears to be incomplete because page 23 refers to an appendix, and it says all public input received through this planning work is included as an appendix to this plan. I don't see the appendix. I don't know what form it's in. I don't know whether it exists. But the plan is incomplete without it. It's also interesting that the plan has the date 2025 not only on the cover, but on every page.
Mr. Brown, could you finish up your comments? It's been about 3 minutes.
Are you listening? Okay, so the final thing, I'd like to give you all copies of the 3-page letter that we sent out last October so that you have copies of these and you know what kinds of things we were suggesting.
Yep, thank you.
And also, Speaking of procedure, the agenda item tonight is for adoption of this plan. And I'm not sure whether that is just you intend to vote yes or no on it. But the website that you are part of, the Gorham openspace.me website, concludes with the in the procedural section at the end, I think it's section 5 of that website, it says, the project team will compile all materials and products to present to the town for accuracy and completeness. A revised plan will be presented to the Open Space and Trails Master Plan Steering Committee for review and further refinement before the project culminates with the official town council public hearing and adoption process. Are you planning to do a public hearing for this, as we have been promised?
Right now, we're taking public comment, so.
Okay, that's
All
my
right.
question to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Diana Kushnar, 14 Louise Street. I wanted to make a broader point that goes beyond the details of this particular plan. Tonight, we are discussing a plan that could influence the future of Gorham's open spaces for years to come. Yet we sit in a town of approximately 18,000 people with only a handful of residents present. I don't believe that reflects a lack of interest. I believe it reflects a lack of awareness. I spend a great deal of time canvassing neighborhoods and talking with residents at their doors. One thing I hear repeatedly is that people often don't know what these discussions what are taking place here. And when I talk to residents about issues affecting growth, conservation, taxes, development, and the future character of our town, they care deeply. They have opinions and they want to be involved, but many simply never hear about meetings like this until after important decisions have already been made. My request is simple. Let's please make it clear, make every effort to ensure that residents know what is happening, understand how they can participate, and feel confident that their feedback matters. Whether someone supports or opposes a particular proposal, they deserve to have their voice heard, and we're thankful that we can do this here, but I think it needs to be more understood that people can come here. So the strength of Gorham has always been its people. The more we engage them, the better our decisions will be. This open space plan should ultimately reflect not just the work of consultants and committees, but the values, priorities, and visions of the residents who call Gorham home. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? All right. We'll close the comments and we will go to council deliberations. Any comments? Who wants to start? Go ahead.
I'll jump in if you don't mind.
Yep.
So this was the package that was dropped on my front porch, like Thursday, when it's 110 heat index, and July 4th the next day. So I fully admit I haven't read it. I read through the financial side of it, but I have not got through this whole plan. In general, I'm really excited about open space and trails master plan, but I am a little concerned how many people have looked at this before we move forward to adopt it. And you know, one example on page 17, I looked at habitat protection, and they had an area in red, endangered, threatened, special concern wildlife habitat, followed by vernal pools. And when I look at it, the Amazon property is endangered, threatened, special concern wildlife habitat, and has 3 vernal pools on it. So there's a disconnect for me of why we have a master plan that's doing something different from what we're doing. So I personally would like to spend more time looking at this through time, and I apologize not for doing it, but I think it's important that a lot of people look at this because we're going to live by this for a long time, and it's very important for people who want to preserve some of the character of Gorham that we have today.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could
ahead.
add a couple comments. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and I certainly extend great appreciation to everybody that was involved. Everybody who's been involved obviously cares deeply about the town and the open spaces, and I am very much with them on that. I want to support these open spaces and trails as well. I do think I noticed a couple of inaccuracies as well. We could conceivably send this to the Capital Improvements and Economic Development Committee for a little further discussion and maybe look at a couple of refinements we might make. Generally, very much on board with the high level goals here, but there are some kind of specifics that I do think I have some questions about, and I'd like to talk through a little bit. I think Councilor Hamlin raises a very good question, and I do think that we can at a high superficial level, we can say yes to this and say we're supportive of open trails and open spaces and trails, but then we have to ask ourselves, what are the other decisions we're making that are in direct conflict with these goals? When preserving the open spaces and trails are part of the stated goals we agreed to as a group in our workshop, and it's just, there's a lot of challenges here. We talked about this a little bit at some of the capital improvements recent committee meetings, but I mean, the idea of the growth areas and sort of subjecting certain areas have to absorb lots of growth, so some of us can endure almost no growth at all. It's just it's a difficult situation to try to balance. I mean, the natural growth of any community is like you start in an urban core where everybody has what they need in a little walkable center, and that kind of steadily grows up and out. When you freeze that and you force the development further away, that actually makes worse traffic. It forces everyone to drive everywhere. So I think some of the growth areas, I think we need to be more targeted with our growth areas and actually kind of broader in the areas that we want to protect. So speaking of it now, maybe it would be a good idea to suggest bring it to the Capital Improvements Committee for some further discussion, with the understanding that we're generally supportive of the effort. There's a pretty specific demographic. What I would say is an inaccurate statement on page 9. So if we're going to approve it tonight, I would want us to at least correct this. I emailed the group as well to kind of do this in advance, so there's some clarity. So the second paragraph, about halfway through, so the town's appeal to young families is reflected in its school enrollment figures. As of 2023, more than 2,750 students were enrolled in the local K-12 public school. And then it says, according to the Gorham Public School, the largest school within the municipality is the elementary school, with 1,273 students enrolled. And then this suggests an increase in the youth population and a growth in the younger generation. Now, these statements are pretty misleading. It's true that there were more than 2,750 students in the K-12. In 2023, it was 2,751. And that's according to the reports from the school budget booklet. Now, in 2003, the K-12 student population was 2,751. So there actually hasn't been any significant change over the last 20 years. The reason that the elementary school has more kids than the middle school or the high school is because K-5 is 6 years of students, and middle school is 3, high school is 4. So that's just there's just more students. So those don't seem to be accurate statements, and I don't just want to be like a grammar police here, but this is a particular line of thinking that I've heard a lot of people in town talk about, sort of like this assumption that our school population is out of control and that's why our taxes are going up. It's simply not, that is not an accurate statement. If anything, the cost of housing is really what's the primary factor driving up our property tax increases, because that's the cost of living is raising the school budget and the town budget. So I would propose an amendment to remove the second paragraph, starting with the town's appeal, and then the rest of it through, the rest of that paragraph through, suggesting a growth in the younger generation. Because again, we've received reports from the school superintendent. They have a consultant that does projections based on existing data, and they actually suggest a decline in student enrollment, not an increase. So I'll make a motion for the amendment to.
Counselor Sims,
yeah.
would you, could we wait and hear from the rest of the council in case this starts
sure.
to go into,
Sure.
rather than change things now, if people want to have
Yeah.
more in-depth discussion and about this, maybe we're going to head this to some other direction.
Sure.
So do you have something you want to add, or do you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think maybe it's important, because I think we have new counselors. We haven't done one of these in a while. Last one was the Little Falls, South Wyndham. I say it in that order, even though I think the plan doesn't say that to put us first. That was the last master plan the council adopted. What a suggestion I might have, if the council wants a little bit more time to digest it, maybe a workshop, just to hear a presentation on it. I think these are not and Tom can correct me if I'm wrong, or Director of Community Development, these are a guiding document that would go into a comprehensive plan to guide future decisions. So it is not, I would say it's to be expected that a new plan would conflict with existing practices and existing zoning, because that's the purpose of it, that we would be changing it. That being said, small typos, things like that we can fix. But the bigger thing, if you're looking for a little bit more time just to digest it, maybe hear from the committee members that put a lot of time into it with the consultants as well as the staff, I'm happy to set up, an hour workshop, something like that, for you just to digest it more and hear their perspective, why they came to those conclusions. Because you're right, the counselor's right, we do hand you this 40-page report, and we're like, this is what they've been working hard on for a year, and digest it over the holiday weekend and read it all and put your stamp on it. So that would just be a suggestion I'd have, rather than dissect it. And agreed, I think, just simple changes like that line about school population that really shouldn't affect the whole master plan.
Go ahead.
I just want to acknowledge a couple of points from the public comment. The first one is that the committee on the Conservation Commission reach out to a lot of people and try to get a lot of input. And every time we do reports like this, we put out public statements, put out surveys, put out comments. We're at events. It is so hard to get the public actually engaged in this kind of stuff. But I think the committee and the Conservation Commission worked very, very hard to do that for this report. I also just want to state that former Councillor Lavoie is the one who should get all of the positive credit for this report in terms of from the council perspective. I was put on this year just because we needed a councillor, but he's the one who headed the work from the council perspective. So please don't give me that credit. Give it to him and the rest of the members of the Conservation Commission and committee in general. I would also support a larger workshop just to hear more about this, because it's, just quite large.
Councilor Kush?
I agree with the workshop idea. If that needs to be a motion, I'm happy to make it. But I'd also like to hear from the commission, the Conservation Commission itself, or a couple of people, because this sort of becomes their baby. And I don't know, as an appointments person, asking people to take over something like this seems like a big project. So I would be interested in staff and some of the actual commission there to talk to us.
Thank you. Councilor Dearborn?
So I'm just looking at some of these maps, and are these like what they're recommending? Or is this like, because you've got trails running through a working dairy farm. Apparently my land is part of this whole thing, and I have no idea what this is about. And there's sidewalks going down Flaggy Meadow Road. Have you been on Flaggy Meadow Road? They'd have to take houses. So I'm just wondering, I'm all for the trail system. I love it. I use it often. has anybody gone out? I mean, you're literally going through Linda Treatyworthy's entire property. Have you been to her flower farm? It just goes straight through it. So I'm just kind of wondering, this is the village one, page 56. Was anybody consulted? Because there's a whole trail system over here that doesn't even jive with this. Flaggy Meadow Farm, you go right through the middle of it. They have cows in that field.
Yeah, I think that some of these are suggested connectivity of trails and things like that. I don't think that, none of this has been implemented.
Okay.
Or anything. These are, a lot of this is, I hope I'm not overstepping, but, but some of this has, is existing, and some of it is, because I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at the same one you are.
Well, it does say new minor trail,
Right.
which is
So
all of that.
we've always looked at connectivity, so that's just one of the reasons why it's just showing possible connectivity. And I don't think, this isn't about implementation, it's just about ideas, so. It could actually, turn into something else, so, yeah. Yeah, I answered
If
that.
you don't mind, isn't that a problem though? Because I mean, if we refer to this for years and now there are proposed trails through property, I mean, does that set us up in the future? Somebody come back and say, hey, it's in the master plan, we need to move forward. It just worries me that we're setting precedents here that we need to be concerned with.
Well, we're not doing anything without landowner permission. We're not taking over, trails or taking over land. I think these are just, like I said, suggestions, but I don't know.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if the council wants to entertain a workshop, I think that could be a good conversation. It really, this is, again, a guiding framework so that, let's just say a subdivision comes in to be developed on property. Staff can look at that and say, well, we have a plan that shows that we have all these existing trails around this. We want that interconnectivity. So it's something that in the comprehensive plan, the planning board can hang their hat on it and say, when you provide us with open space, we want to connect these trails. Or it does not mean that anybody that has private property, the town is proposing building a trail through your property. It's the concept of it and or showing existing areas that are open space or have existing trail networks on them. So again, master plans are a plan. It is not the final implementation. It gives you that guiding principle of what you're looking for.
I had one question and then I would make a motion unless anybody else wanted to do that. My question was just on notice. So talking about some of the plans that we've had and to the public comment, what type of notice does go out when these meetings are happening, if any?
Thank you. So Tom can correct me if I'm wrong. All the meetings are publicly posted. I did check that. They're all there. We will put those out sometimes on social media. I know the survey went out extensively. We had people at the food trucks, online, Facebook, as well as the public input session. To Councilor Siegel's point, it's something that municipalities are struggling with. We're trying to be better at, but it's just hard to get that engagement all the time, especially to the affected parties. But I think the staff and the committee members went above and beyond, making sure that it was open to the public.
Great. Just want to publicly confirm that. And then if you'd entertain a motion, unless there's other comment, I'd make a motion to have the council hold a workshop to look at the Gorham Open Space and Trails Master Plan 2025 and request that we invite members of the Gorham Conservation Commission and staff to that workshop.
And the public as well.
And of course, the public.
Second.
So if we're sending this to a workshop, are we technically tabling the adoption of it? Okay, so should we change it to send it to a workshop and table the item, or just table the item? That's fine. Okay.
I'd begin by tabling the item and then sending it to a workshop.
Okay,
How's
there we
that?
go. Just trying to make it clear. All right, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hamblin. Any discussion about tabling it? Because we're involving other parties, I don't feel comfortable like picking a date or anything, or time or month right now until we confer with other parties. So if that's... Yep.
Chair Phillips, if I could, through you to the town manager, if I wanted to know, because we aren't able to figure out the date quite yet, if I wanted to know when this was happening and I were a member of the public, where should I look?
Great question. Town council agendas go out on our listserv. That's, if you subscribe to that, on our town calendar. And I can ask the staff to make a good faith effort. We don't put everything out on social media, but this one we can put out as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor of tabling the item? 7 yeas.
Item 2026, 7-6, action to consider sending to the Ordinance Committee the removal of mandatory fire suppression requirements not mandated by the State of Maine in residential properties. Councilor Sims sponsored. Proposed Order 2671, order that the Town Council forwards to the Ordinance Committee for review and recommendation, amending the Land Use and Development Code and/or dissolving the Fire Suppression System Ordinance to remove requirements for residential fire suppression systems in residential units not mandated by the State of Maine. And be it further ordered that the Town Council establishes a goal of a hearing in September of 2026 for implementation on or near January 1st, 2027.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Sims. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Willis. This item doesn't have any public comment, but I don't know if the council would entertain any public comment. Do you want to check and see if?
Oh, sure.
I mean, this is obviously a big topic, but if anyone from the public wants to speak on this item, all right. Seeing no one, all right. We'll keep going. All right. Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we definitely, as you mentioned, we get a lot of public input about this particular, the fire suppression system ordinance. Ordinance Committee has been working on this for quite a while now. We've tried to bring some kind of compromise measures forward that are kind of balancing. You know, we've obviously we all want fire safety. I'm a big fan of sprinkler systems. If people want to use them, they're free to install them. Requiring every single new residential unit to have them, unless it's less than 800 square feet, seems onerous. And I think that I've heard from enough builders that there's so many complications in our existing fire suppression system ordinance that go beyond the state requirements, that it just, and we've been trying to fix this thing with some different approaches. We recognize that there's going to have to be changes to the land use code if the fire suppression system ordinance were to just go away completely. Having worked on this for almost 3 years now, I think that, in my view, the cleanest step would just be to get rid of the existing fire suppression system ordinance in its entirety and then move forward with a new set of ordinances that we add on. We update the land use development code as necessary. That's why I kind of have proposed this in such a way where we're not just ripping the Band-Aid off and 30 days from now we just don't have a fire suppression system ordinance anymore and we haven't fixed anything in the land use code. So we're trying to take a tempered approach here with the ultimate goal of, in my view, the best scenario would be by next year, the fire suppression system ordinance as it currently exists is no longer active, and we've updated the other things that the town has told us we have to do in the development code to do that in a responsible way. And we're just balancing housing affordability and fire safety. It's just something we have to pick a place where we're going to balance it. So I'll stop babbling.
Thank you, Councilor Sims, for bringing up this item. Everybody knows that I didn't like it to begin with, so I'm happy to, I think this is something, I think it went to ordinance already, and I think I've kind of spoken to Councilor Sims in email. My recommendation would be, another workshop. But this is a bigger discussion that I know maybe the ordinance committee has discussed it to death. So I don't know if the rest of the council would be happy to discuss it all together.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So maybe we can talk about that. So that's just my thoughts. Councilor Willis?
I would support sending it to workshop. I look at the ordinance committee meetings every month, and you guys have a long list of things to discuss. So I think a workshop would be a more efficient process.
Anyone else?
I think we should send this to ordinance and do a workshop based on feedback that I'm getting from the rest of the counselors, and we've been discussing the other versions of this. It seems like it makes more sense to just kind of get it onto the agenda rather than have a workshop and then get it onto the agenda. There are enough counselors who have made it clear that this is of their interest that I think we should just...
So we can do both?
Yeah, have a workshop, but also just kind of get this onto our agenda so it's there.
Right, so just go ahead.
No, I think we have enough information, and I think the state is very clear on their fire suppression, that we can make an informed decision and go with, I think that's where you were going to go with that, right?
Well, I think it's just a point of order that I think from the town manager that if we're going to change the land use development code, it has to go through the ordinance committee. So we can do the workshop as well. That was my understanding. But if that's not the case, then.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know if you have to. The council has historically done that. I would just only caution you that the September public hearing goal, if it has to come through the ordinance committee after a workshop, might not be realistic. It might be closer to October.
That's fine.
I just want the council to be aware of that. But the biggest thing with a workshop that I could get, because there's interested parties working on it, there's staff that have, we've had language available of various options. It's just getting the clear direction from the council. Okay, you want to remove this, but we have a basic fire suppression need. Is it a X cistern on a subdivision, X units outside of public water? And that has historically been the council's struggle of what is this fine line? But if we can get that out of the workshop, I think we can get the language squared away pretty quickly. And the fire suppression ordinance is a fairly simple fix. The land use items still have to go to the planning board, but just add another 2 months to that and you'd still be in early next year. Which in fairness to contractors and developers, you kind of want a clear path forward for them to understand where they're going to be next year.
Exactly.
Is it feasible to do an August workshop on this and then we can still figure out what we're doing for September if it went to a public hearing? I mean, we could still...
If the timetable is to get it done sooner rather than later, I would do a August workshop.
Okay.
Which we can coordinate a time with the council for that.
So just to be crystal clear, it could go from us to a workshop, back to us, and does not have to go to the ordinance committee?
It could, yeah.
That's possible. It would be a decision of the council.
I'm not aware of any rules that any requirements in your rules that it has to go to the ordinance committee. It's just your typical go-to for deliberation. Council without a workshop is hard to nail down details.
So just to be clear then, point of order, we're going to amend this motion to add to it a workshop with the full council, and then we're still going to send it to the ordinance committee, or I'm relatively ambivalent at this point. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to put it on the ordinance committee agenda. I don't want the ordinance committee to hold it up, I guess is my only thing, but I don't have a problem with it being, so I mean, the timing of it would be, so today's the 7th of July. Ordinance committee meets next Monday. Presumably the workshop in August would probably happen after our August ordinance committee. So
I'm just thinking, we meaning us, if we could get some just clear guidance, the problem is it keeps bouncing around and we do this and then somebody takes advantage of this. If we can get some clear guidance as to where we're going to go with this, if we're going to just go by the state rules, then I think that's easy. Which is what the state recommends. That's what we do.
Right.
And then the land use development code stuff comes a little bit later or before. I think we just go with what the state recommends, because this is what's happening. Somebody says something and then, oh yeah, we have to do that, and oh, we have to do that, and it's getting lost. I think that would be my recommendation, is that we just seriously go with what the state of Maine requires.
Thank you, Chair. My suggestion is that we do a workshop and also send it to ordinance, very specifically because we do not take votes at workshops. And I think we would, at the workshop, give town staff a very clear, here is the general feeling of the entire council, what we'd like to see. They can then prepare all that language and then give it to ordinance, that ordinance can at least vote to send it back to the council, so there's at least a vote somewhere, rather than we just saying, hey, here's what we want, and then it just comes back to the full council without even having looked at that.
Yeah. Is that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to one-up that, and I'm going to ask staff to have prepared amendments ready for that workshop that I know are in the works with us and other folks, and you can react to those rather than, and that'll speed up the process. The other component is, I believe in your council rules, it allows me to call a workshop, believe it or not. So I would just vote on this item, and I'll schedule you an August workshop, and we just cut to the chase and get it done.
All right, great. So
works.
just point of order there then. So we're going to schedule, we've already noted here that town manager is going to schedule the workshop in August. So what we would be proposing here is that we would, it would likely be on the September ordinance committee meeting agenda after the workshop, when we get the full input of everybody. One last look at the updates that have been made based on the workshop's input, and then the public hearing would be October, full council meeting, and conceivably we could vote then as well. Yeah.
On some of the changes, again.
Right,
the
right,
land use stuff
And
takes
then
a
there'll be
while.
more. Yeah. All right, that sounds good to me.
When I saw this agenda item, I was really excited because I've heard way too much about fire suppression in my time. And I thought maybe tonight we were voting to make this go away. And now it sounds like we're putting another level of complexity in it. I mean, do we really need the workshop and to go back to the ordinance committee? Or can we just go with the order now and go back to what's mandated by the state of Maine and eliminate it from our ordinances completely?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take it on behalf of the ordinance committee. If we were to remove it whole hog right now, there are other changes that we would need to make. When we put it in place years ago, there were other changes. So we cannot just remove it without doing anything else, because there are other safety-related pieces.
Go ahead.
And just to be clear, this item was never to remove it this evening. This item was sending it to ordinance to talk about reviewing it, to potentially remove it. So there was never an action on the table tonight just to remove it. But I would suggest an amendment, and I understand what the town manager is saying, but for the public that's reading this, instead of just like tabling it or not taking it up, if we just changed it to say, order that the town council holds a workshop in August for review and recommendation, continue that paragraph right out. I don't see any challenges with the paragraph. If it's just strictly a couple of word change there, adding holding a workshop in August.
Okay.
And then it would be clear in the minutes coming out of this, it would be clear in any publications that what we're doing is having a workshop to look at this and continuing to move it forward.
Okay, so point of order then. Yeah. You're making a motion to amend the order to add town council forwards to...
Do you want me to make the actual motion?
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
happy to, unless somebody's...
Yeah.
So order that the town council holds a workshop in August for review and recommendation, amending the LUDC and/or dissolving the fire suppression systems ordinance to remove requirements for residential fire suppression systems in residential units not mandated by the state of Maine, and be it further ordered that the town council establishes a goal of a hearing in September 2026 for implementation on or near January 1st, 2027. So I would leave it all as is, other than that one.
Okay, so just to clarify, the forwards to the ordinance committee would also still remain in, and the workshop would just be added to it.
I'm removing the words forward
got
to the ordinance committee.
Okay, got it.
And I'm replacing them with holds a workshop in August.
Okay, got it.
I mean, if need be, after the workshop, we could say, okay, we want the ordinance committee to
Sure.
look at this. And we
Let's
could
do
do
that.
that. And
Yeah, that
we
works.
can decide that.
I would suggest that either coming out of that, somebody sponsor an item that's very specific at that time, or sends it to the ordinance committee.
Just so Counselor Willis is aware, that will delay things.
Potentially.
September meeting that had, and you
Yep.
would be talking about it.
And then.
If we choose to send it to the ordinance committee at that time.
Yeah.
But there's also no guarantee we could send it to the ordinance committee and it may come back up in January.
Right.
Right? I mean, we don't know when it's going to be taken up.
But we could still send we can send to the ordinance committee refinements to the land use development code that we want to see happen. While at the same time, just from after the workshop in August, somebody could say, okay, for the September meeting, I want to have on the full council agenda to, remove the fire suppression systems ordinances that are beyond the current state requirements. And we could still say that, I mean, in my view, you could say that that's going to be implemented as of, or, January 1st, 2027, because like the building season, you kind of like, you give them the builders time to plan for the next year. And that, again, that just gives you a little bit of buffer time to make sure it's all being done as responsibly as possible, or we don't have to do that, but.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so motion to amend on the table then? Has
Yep.
that been seconded?
All right, second by Counselor Sims. All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas. All right, now the motion is amended. Any more discussion on the motion as amended? I think we've discussed it to death. All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026, 7-7, action to consider having staff coordinate an update from the MDOT on the Portland West Transportation Study. Councilor Hamblin sponsored. Proposed Order 2672, ordered that the Town Council authorize staff to coordinate an update workshop with the MDOT and regional partners of the Portland West Transportation Study as it pertains to regional traffic congestion relief efforts in the area west of Portland.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Counselor Sims. All right, Counselor Hamblin, go ahead.
Thank you. Councilor Sims mentioned it before about the DOT meeting a few weeks ago. And at that time, they had a slide deck called Project Gideon, the main DOT traffic movement permit scoping meeting. It was something. It took me a while to get it, but I now have it. What really impressed me, I mean, when I drive through Gorham, I know what times of day to go through Gorham, when there's going to be a lot of traffic and when there's not, and where you get around things. And I think many of the local people do. But some of the numbers thrown out were staggering, and maybe it's just the numbers side of me that really set some alarms off instead of just talking about how busy things are. And they made reference to currently downtown Gorham roughly has 28,000 vehicle trips on a daily basis. That is comparable to Route 22 and Brighton Avenue going into Portland. Currently, the DOT qualifies Main Street, Gorham as poor quality of transportation flow. It's also one of the higher accident locations involved around the area. So some warning signs to me. Then we look at the growth to the west, Standish Buxton adding a lot of homes. We look at the growth of homes in Gorham, back by the old golf course. And we look at the introduction of Amazon. And Amazon, they suggest, will add 3,100 additional car driving equivalents through downtown Gorham on a daily basis, and 2,700 during Saturdays. That's an 11% increase over what we have today, and really haven't seen a whole lot of changes in Main Street Gorham traffic flow. When we talked, we asked a few questions. The engineers in the room, it was a room full of civil engineers. They're very interesting to listen to, but they started thinking about, how are you going to address that? And they said, well, maybe no left-hand turns off of Main Street. and this is just all pie in the sky stuff or some kind of raised medium so people can't turn left. So they're looking at a poor situation of traffic flow today getting worse because of what we're adding to the mix. So I think we need to spend some time looking at this. I'm not sure what the West DOT or what is come up with, but I think as an organization, as in a town, we're in a tough situation already. It's only going to get worse based on what we see. So we need a plan. We need to think about it. We need a workshop. We need to understand it. The people in town need to understand it. And I know a lot of people around the Amazon project who are in favor all talk about being pro-business. And, you know, I'm pro-Gorham. I'm pro-Gorham residents. I'm pro-Gorham business. And if I owned a business in downtown Gorham, I'd be pretty pissed off if nobody can take a left-hand turn into my location to give me business, because that means they're going to go to Westbrook or Wyndham or Standish or someplace else to do their business. So I think if we want to be really pro-business, pro-resident, we need to take a hard look at the traffic that's coming through today and into the future and start looking for some solutions.
Thank you. So this is yet again another workshop, sorry, but I think it's a broad discussion that we definitely need to have. We need to have the information from the Portland West Transportation Study. We need to see that and discuss it. So I think this is a great idea.
Agreed. If I could, just one thing to add, I think one update that wasn't contemplated as much in kind of prior comprehensive plan, you know, there's the bus rapid transit study it's kind of connected to the Portland West Transportation Study, but I think we should try to loop that into this conversation as well, because that's a really viable, I mean, even just the Husky line didn't exist in 2016 when our last comprehensive plan was. So, you know, I think that if we're worried about traffic, we have to build in such a way that not every new house means an additional car. We have to make actual viable alternative options. And we actually might have some of those with the bus rapid transit and just kind of smarter land use decisions in and around the village. But looking forward to the workshop.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Kush?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I RSVP'd today that there is, Metro is hosting Westbrook, Gorham, Portland on that rapid bus transit, 11 to 1:30 at their administrative offices. So it'll be a good chance to at least be with 3 of the towns.
Friday, July 17th. It's my birthday. How did they know?
Free lunch. Free lunch on your birthday.
That's right.
Councilor Willis?
I would just invite, I know we have one village business owner in the building this evening, and any others that may want to partake in that workshop, because I do think we talked about this at the last SIPS meeting, there's a real difference between what DOT came up with and those engineers around like what they consider good traffic flow and maybe what we would consider good traffic flow, that cars moving faster through our village is not necessarily good for our village businesses. So I'd love to hear some input from those people as we're looking at all of this.
Could I make one more comment, if you mind? I'm sorry, did I get in front of you?
No, I'm just looking at FM Smart.
No, so what I've heard from DOT and DEP when I sit through the meetings, they'll come up with recommendations, thoughts, but they're not going to really drive it, and they're not really going to insist on many, many things. So if we really want to impact traffic and find better ways, it's up to us to do it. We can't rely on the state. It's got to be us who will come and make hard decisions to make it a better place to live.
Thank you. The town manager has a comment too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Community Development Director almost fell out of a seat, so I'll take it. I don't want to have to come up, but not on Councilor Hamlin's comments, but just the conversation as a whole. The one thing I want to emphasize, the Portland West study is a byproduct of the Gorham Connector project that is looking at the region holistically. It is not necessarily just focused on the Gorham downtown. It's the DOT, where we need to push back, and I correspondence with Councilor Hamlin a little on this, is it is DOT's problem to solve in conjunction with the municipalities. Our job locally, I 100% agree, is to push back. We deserve a Gorham Village. We deserve that ability to have that. We are not the corridor for you to transmit 30,000 cars a day. The reality of it is it's somewhere in the middle, as we all can appreciate and know. It's bus rapid transit, it's cars, it's alternative routes, things like that. So to manage expectations, I think DOT will address a lot of those. And what you'll hear in these, let's say smaller, but the scoping meetings is engineers trying to address local problems with engineering solutions. And it's, as you all know, it's a combination of the town pushing back saying, we want sidewalks, we want crosswalks, and DOT is getting better at that. Not necessarily at the local or lower engineer level, but at the high level and upper management of DOT, they appreciate it, and they're doing the village initiative projects and things like that. So what I'm hoping from this project is you'll get a combination of all of that and or the discussion. But I just want to emphasize it won't be just Gorham Main Street that they'll talk about. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, not to belabor too much, but I think it is one of my observations. The DOT, it's all about the road and the right of way. There's no land use thinking at all. That, in my view, at the state level, that's the biggest disconnect. Like even the transportation committee at the legislature, they don't talk about land use at all. They don't talk about housing. If we force the housing to go out to Standish, yeah, we're going to have more traffic. So that's the piece that I think the town can hone in, at least in our municipality. So yeah, we'll talk about it more later.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I would just ask that town staff, now that we've got 3 hot topics and workshops that we're going to talk about, just make sure that town staff is getting the word out as much as possible. And Tom is raising his hand and wants us to say something. You can go up. You can come up, Tom.
He's going to do a September public meeting regarding east-west corridor, so we'll probably hold off on your workshop until after that. So they're going to be coming in
Okay.
town to be presenting, and I recommend the council.
All right, so Tom's saying that in September, they're doing a public hearing of their own, so,
I think we just found out about that today or this week. So
Okay.
kind of like they did with the Gorham Connector, just kind of like a public feedback thing. But they have, so after this item came up, we did reach out to them, and they do want to have a more in-depth conversation with just the council.
Okay.
So, but looking at your workshop items, this will probably actually line up fairly well.
okay.
As long as the ban on pizza is lifted, I'm sure the
Okay.
council
We'll
will
talk about that
be happy
later.
to attend. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026, 7-8, action to consider authorizing the release of tax or increment financing funds for a study of possible municipal reuse of school facilities, administrator sponsored. Proposed Order 2673, order that the Town Council authorizes the release of up to $30,000 in TIF funds toward the study of village and Narragansett elementary schools for potential municipal reuse in the event that one or more is ever replaced, consolidated, or relocated. And be it further ordered that the analysis also includes evaluation of affordable housing and economic development options should municipal facilities reuse of the property not be viable.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Councilor Seal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Some of the council, and I'm not sure how widely we discussed it during the budget process, towards the end of the budget process, the school committee and the superintendent were looking for potentially to do a study of the elementary schools to look at future uses and/or different strategies. This is not to say that any of the schools are going to change at all right now, but looking down the road, if the town got funding for a new elementary school or an opportunity came up to make a smart move with those schools, what would that look like, and could we do a study to analyze that? We all know the superintendent is a go-getter, and before I could even ask for the funding, she was out there knocking on my door saying, let's go do this effort. So that's what this is. Where the municipal component comes in is the school department had requested help with this. It didn't make it in the budget. It didn't make it into my budget. The TIF component, I think, is a very viable way to look at it, because should an elementary school be closed or consolidated down the road, the town would look at it much like this building and say, what could that use be? Is there an economic development use for it? Is there an affordable housing use, like we did with White Rock, White Rock years ago. So this would be probably about half the cost, and I understand the superintendent may have some additional funding available. So we're asking that part of it be allocated out of our TIP account. Thank you.
Councilor Samuelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, can the study will only look at the village school parcels and the Narragansett school parcels? Are there other town-owned parcels that will also be considered in the study?
Thank you. I focused on for the TIF funds, Village and Narragansett, because they're in those districts. My understanding is it's also going to look at Great Falls just to have what would this big picture look like? All the schools, essentially.
All the schools. Okay.
Not the high school or middle school, but all the elementary schools.
Got it. Would it be possible to include any additional town-owned parcels in that without adding to the cost?
I would leave that scope in question up to the school department.
Okay.
I don't think I'm informed enough to look at that. I think it's really.
Okay.
My guess is it probably wouldn't dramatically. They're looking at just kind of high level. This isn't in the weeds on like the buildings and the HVAC systems or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just big picture. But for the purposes of TIF funds to justify their use with a straight face, it would be on or near our TIF districts, which I think Narragansett and Village definitely support.
Okay.
Are you suggesting like looking at town-owned properties and repurposing them? Because we have a study that kind of mentions that, but that's a whole nother subject. But I just want to know if that's
I was curious generally. I mean honestly, like if it's in the TIF districts, even the industrial park expansion. We've talked at a couple different occasions about potentially adding different uses to that. Like adding more higher value uses to potentially have a broader spectrum of potential buyers.
I think
I don't know if that would make
conversation,
sense, but
okay.
might be separate.
And just, Michelle, just raise your hand, or Quentin, raise your hand if you have something you want to add to clarify what we're talking about. So just let me know and you can come up. Go ahead.
I guess my question is along what Councilor Sims was, why limit ourselves to just these two schools? I kind of think along the Little Falls School, sitting there not doing too much. And I remember the old White Rock School is now over 55 housing. So, keeping our options open and maybe spreading a little wider net when they're looking at this thing might be helpful.
I think.
So, hi, Chair of the Finance and Facilities Committee for the school committee, so I feel comfortable to talk a little bit about this. So when this originally came through the Facilities Committee, the conversation was around our long list of capital improvement needs at Narragansett and Village. And so the conversation with the Finance Committee was essentially, we know the story of kind of stable/declining enrollment, two buildings that are very old and need lots of things, also the high school being in the same situation. And so the idea here was, before we go and put things on a bond in front of you and ask the community to invest in buildings, was that we in particular look at these buildings, and it's the ones that are particular for the school, so that we can have a plan of what we're doing before we bring you a list of items to bond. So that's why it's focused primarily on the school buildings, why primarily Narragansett and Village, because it started from that conversation of likely if a consolidation was to ever happen, those two buildings are the closest, the oldest, and in the roughest shape. So looking at Great Falls for expansion opportunity there. So that's really kind of how we came here. And all of us, I think, on the Finance Committee felt more comfortable having an artifact that gave us guidance before asking to bond more money, if that helps to understand.
Thank you. Councilor Willis?
Yeah, I was deciding. Just the comment about Little Falls makes me think about the rec study that we're doing right now, and just I think the seniors who use that facility would say it's being used quite often. So we do have a lot of stuff happening in that building. It's just not maybe happening for everybody all the time.
Any other comments, Councilor Siegel?
My one concern, and maybe this can be alleviated, is just we're often talking about going for a state-funded school. that process just happened and it didn't work out, in theory, we're talking another 8 years before they open that up again. Probably more than that, okay. I'm just imagining a council in the future, that they say, oh, we have this report, and then one of them says, well, that report's from 10 years ago. We need a new report. And so then I'm wondering, if this really isn't gonna be a potential for a minimum of 8 years, why now?
Michelle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you say that it was a conversation about the needs and, things like that, and the things that are going to come up in the near future, I guess, that might come up in conversation about
Right.
facilities.
I think from the school committee perspective, the understanding that we didn't qualify for a project. So now, what do we do? Right? That's the question we have. What do we do with these buildings? And so, we all have ideas and thoughts. You hear people say we want to do all kinds of wild and crazy things, but we need a study to tell us what's the right decision, because we don't want to be relocating kids, moving schools. Do we spend this money on this? But it's a worst case scenario to invest in buildings that in 5 years we might decide we don't need that building anymore. So that's at least to me. So I'm speaking of my personal perspective and my decision making on the item. I don't feel comfortable bringing forward large ticket bond items if I don't know for sure that those schools have life left in them. And so I think it's a combination of happening now because of knowing we don't qualify for a project, and because we know we have a large list ahead of us of items that we're going to be coming forward over the next 20 years, long term. So if that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple other clarifying questions, if that's okay. The goal of the study, is the goal of the study to kind of, it's gonna kind of like say, okay, if you're gonna keep these open, here's the things you need to focus on investing in? Is that part of it? Or is it really more just like, if you is one of the assumptions of the study gonna be, we don't think we're going to keep using all these school buildings?
No. And I don't know that we've got a finalized, scope of work with anyone on this, but my understanding of the project is really looking at, we have Narragansett, we have Village, we have Great Falls, we have the enrollment situation we have the maintenance situation we have, even, I think there is, in the scope, at least conversation with you all around what would be a use if there were buildings, that could be available. So, if the study were to show that one of them could be repurposed, we would want your input for what, and so I think that's the whole part of the TIF piece there. But so the point is not to go in with any predisposition of we're closing a school. We can't right now. We have lots of bodies in those buildings, so there's no way one of them could absorb the other. So that's the whole piece, is looking at what did the numbers say, what is the point where we need to consider consolidation, can we not? Is it impossible to consider consolidation? If that's the case, then how do we prioritize and help us get guidance on answering those questions before just making the decision? So no predetermined, prove us this thing in the study. Okay. It's asking those sorts of questions.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. And I'd love to see conversations like that happen even as part of that study, because I think, like I said, if the concern is, first of all, I'm glad that we're acknowledging the school population isn't going up. In fact, it's likely to go down unless we allow more housing to get built. And if we build the housing within walking distance of the schools, then we don't create as much more traffic. If we build the new housing between Gorham and the population job centers, we don't have to worry about creating as much traffic through the village. Those are the kind of things. And by the way, if we do that, we get more property tax revenue and our taxes don't go up as much. So those are the kind of conversations where I just want to make sure we actually have that broad conversation with all those things connected, because we don't have to just accept a scenario where, okay, we're not going to let any new houses get built and our population's going to go down to zero eventually. There's another way where we get a better property tax situation and a more vibrant village. So I just want to make sure I'm down with doing the study to look at it, as long as we're keeping all that in consideration. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for Michelle?
I just had a quick one. I believe, and you sort of alluded to it, but I think there were only 3 counselors in the room that day. So like we had in June, I think it may have been May, we had a joint SIPS meeting where we looked at some of your projections.
Yes.
And was it 15 years or 20 years?
20, it's usually a 20-year plan, so I don't know if all 20 were in it, but.
So we looked at like a 20-year plan for capital improvements, and I think that's one of the major, hopefully, benefits of this study is prioritizing some of the stuff that's on that list that gets discussed by the school committee, it gets discussed at the joint SIPS level, but then ultimately comes in front of the council as a potential bond issue, potentially at some point. So I think that's a real benefit that could come out of this. And I believe that's what I hear you saying, but I just want to verify that.
And the other piece too, just you reminded me of like one thing that you all saw on the most recent bond list was that we focused on the high school because we knew this conversation had happened around, okay, if we have projects at Village and Narragansett, but we have this study we're requesting, we don't want to put items in a bond before the study. And so this is part of that strategy of trying to have that process be better of like, let's look at this holistically and further out into the future so that we make a plan versus having to get somewhere and say, oop, we got to consolidate schools and do it quickly. That's not great.
Like has happened in other nearby municipalities.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, we have neighboring schools that are dealing right in this budget season with a consolidation, and it's not ideal to do it in a stressful situation like that.
Not a question for you, but just a plug. I thought of it as I was saying it, that we had this joint SIPS meeting, I think it was last month. We've got a joint finance committee meeting next month. So, for those that are watching and paying attention, there's just a lot of collaboration happening between the staffs of both the town level and the school level, as well as the school committee and the town council. So I think that is really continuing to do good things.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Do you have any other comments? Okay, all right. All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2024-9-10, action to consider the creation of a university district ordinance committee sponsored. Proposed Order 2674, order that the town council forwards to the planning board for their public hearing and comment on the proposed zoning map and language for the creation of a university district. The proposed zoning maps are included below, but due to the length of the draft language, it will be included within the separate agenda notes.
All right, is there a motion? Mr. Sims, is there a second? Second by Councilor Siegel. All right, this comes from the ordinance committee, or do you, town manager, or whoever?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I might kick this to the community development director for like a 2-minute overview. Just because this has a lot of history to it, and it's been an ongoing item trying to get this whole district rezoned and start that process. Thank you.
Good evening. The item was sent on by the ordinance committee a number of months ago, but we wanted to get it to the university to review it before we kick it to the planning board for review. So that's why there was a little lag between when it left ordinance committee to now. Staff did meet with USM staff and their legal representation as part of the first draft and identified where they could provide comments. So we expect as this comes forward that the language will change a little bit as university reviews it. So don't be surprised if it comes back with recommended changes from the planning board.
Any questions, comments?
So what are we trying to do here?
So the current land use regarding the university is urban residential for the most part, and it doesn't really line up with the university use. So every time the university comes in for any kind of improvement, whether it's a dorm facility, you try to do a density calculation for something that's not a house, so that the current land use code doesn't line up correctly. So what the comp plan identified, and a lot of communities do it, Biddeford, I think Portland, they identify university districts where the parcels where the university gets zoned for that use, and then you work to adopt their master plan and then protect their surrounding residents from those uses with landscaping and just making sure noise, lighting, and that kind of stuff isn't going over the boundaries and affecting those residential neighborhoods. So that's what we're trying to do, is provide more protection and give more flexibility to the university as they move forward with projects.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm for this, and University is a good example of a place. There's student housing within walking distance of our bus stop, and guess what? That's the majority of people using the bus live close to that bus stop. So I think the more we can encourage like a transit-oriented kind of residential development there, that'd be great. I actually was just curious if there should be one or two additional use types that we add to this list to at least be considered by the planning board. One in particular was the term business incubators is one that is becoming kind of more common in like economic development circles, and a lot of research institutions are doing this, and it provides a lot of positive economic activity. So I was actually going to propose an additional use. My proposed language would be university-sponsored commercial activity via business incubators and shared workspaces. Would that be something others would be, anyone would be amenable to seconding that?
Anyone? Okay, yeah. All right, so are you asking Tom if that's a viable use that needs to be in here, or are you?
I'd be open to Tom's comments, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably lean to the university if that's something they're looking to add to that and be open to that kind of use because it's their facility. And whether they want to move forward with that, I mean, staff's fine with that.
I think that I've had discussions with different people at USM just about their workforce and their internships and things like that. And I think that that's even come up in conversation. So I think that that's not a bad thing to add to the whole conversation.
All right then.
All right, any discussion on the amendment? All right, all those in favor of amending it to add that use? 7 yeas. All right, back to the item as amended. Any other comments, questions?
I just want to throw out a thank you to the Community Development Department. If you all thought there was no organization slower than municipal government, just wait until you look at higher education. Yeah, we are the quick movers here.
Yeah, I think this has been a long-term thing. I can even remember, the university trying to do different things on their property and not getting resistance from the town, but trying to figure out how they fit in. So this is probably going to be a good fix. So all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2025-1-3, action to consider adopting a municipal wayfinding signage standard for the Town of Gorham, Capital Improvements Committee sponsored. Proposed Order 2675, order that the Town Council accepts the recommendation of the Capital Improvements Committee on the adoption of a wayfinding signage standard as provided by the Beta Group, and be it further ordered that staff are authorized to begin rolling out the design standard starting with town boundary welcome signs and village interior wayfinding signage funding permitted.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Sims. Is there a second?
Second.
By Councilor Willis. Capital Improvements Committee, or you, or Kevin, or whoever wants to. I mean, obviously it came from the Capital Improvements Committee, but.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this began actually a couple of years ago. I went through economic development. We had a committee and a consulting firm, Beta Group, and essentially to come up with a wayfinding design, kind of a template and suggestions through a master kind of, not quite a master, well, it says master plan, but a simple plan for where the signage could be throughout the town. We had an online survey, which was not very decisive as far as the town was kind of split all over the place. So there was a lot of designs, ended up back kind of with the Gorham swoosh, as we call it internally, with something that resembled the school colors a little bit more. And what we're hoping will come out of council is kind of a thumbs up. They're generally okay with that design and want to move forward with it. And the group in the plan identifies various areas throughout town where the signage could be, different concepts. I will say that we're going to start with the signs that need to be replaced first, like our welcome signs. We'll focus, we have some money that's been set aside through TIP funds, about a little over 100 grand, which sounds like a lot of money, but probably won't go that far with this. And village signage, and then maybe spread out throughout the town as funding permits. So like the welcome sign or the municipal center sign that's out here, it's granite. We're not going to replace that.
Right.
Things like that. But our welcome signs are in poor shape. They need to be swapped out. But what we're hoping with the council, will get the input and maybe approval tonight is, are you generally okay with this concept that has been vetted by the SIPS committee and come back to the council?
Yeah, and I just add, we had good discussion about it at the SIPS committee. We had town staff come on a couple of different meetings over the last few months. We gave some input, and they took that and did some good work. And we're not just putting up signs for the sake of putting up signs. As Ephraim said, we're going to try to be cost effective about it, but also, we're trying to do some placemaking and making Gorham a nice place to be, and that's the idea. And pointing out the key, what we want people to know how to get to Roby Park, because it's a cool spot now.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate the swoosh. I did look at the online choices and saw the results of that. I have a question, though, as far as the settled 1736, and I'm just curious if that is something that the native population of Maine is comfortable with, or I know some places say incorporated. I guess I would just like us to at least do a little research into that before we say settled, because I don't think we were the first people here.
Incorporated.
I think we were incorporated a different time, though, like in 1764. So I think what we need to do, and I would maybe even suggest the word founded, but just because that, like the town of Gorham was founded, maybe that's a different word that we could use if you're fine with that. I understand what Councilor Kush is saying. So
Thank you. I mean, really up to the council. We could do incorporated. I'm guessing it was just pulled as the settled because it's the older date, but it could be founded, it could be settled. But the incorporation date is also a lot of towns use the incorporation date, as you can obviously see on our town seal behind us. The council can make a decision on that tonight, or we could kind of just hold off and make that internally. It's entirely up to the council.
I think anybody else have a comment?
Councilor Hammond, go
I
ahead.
personally like the incorporated date because it's a firm number that we know. And
Right.
God knows when the first people were here, probably hundreds of years before that. So let's not get down that slippery slope. That's going to be really hard to win, and let's just go with something that's very clear and identified.
Yep, we can, and those will basically be on the welcome signs. We can do incorporated. That's perfectly fine.
So could we do founded as of the date of incorporation? Does it need to be incorporated?
No, they're two different things.
Two different things, okay.
People were here a long time before 1764.
Right.
Long time.
Right.
Hearing no objection, we'll just go with incorporated. The other thing I want to point out and give kudos to the Economic Development Director. He tried to convince me. Initially, I was skeptical, but like on the second page, the swoosh does allow for us to have these unique, like if it's a biking trail or if it's a mountain bike area or snowmobile trail, should those signs go up, we can customize it a little bit throughout town, which is kind of neat. And I was actually surprised how well it came out. So you'll probably see as we do signs throughout town, we'll, if we do a trailhead project, we'll do a trailhead sign. And that's how this will kind of progress.
Go ahead, Councilor Seal.
To that point, I love this part with the with the hiking and the biking. Using those, I think that's great. I very much dislike this logo. I think it's bad. I'm gonna say it.
I was optimistic that we'd all be on the same page.
I know. But our existing logo, you can see it on the bottom right of the screen if you're watching at home too. The swoosh is involved with the Gorham. And I'm just sitting here wondering, is our logo now just this swoosh? If I were to just see this symbol somewhere, would I know that it's Gorham? And I look at our neighboring municipality, Westbrook, their new logo with, the W, you see that, it's Westbrook. And if it's not just this swoosh and it's the swoosh plus Gorham, that's just Gorham written in a font. That's just tragic. Like that doesn't feel like a logo. And even so, even looking at these signs, right? On some of the signs, the swoosh is underneath Gorham. On the welcome sign, it's above. I'm just, That's my first point.
So you're looking for a logo.
It says logo. This isn't, I mean.
We did a separate thing a few years ago regarding a logo, so.
Thank you. I will say it took us 2 years to get to this point. I think that was a struggle, like the online survey. The swoosh logo originally came from the Gorham Economic Development Corporation. It was the swoosh Gorham, Maine Grow With Us. When I came on board in 2017, we weren't using any branding. We stole that from the GDC and started putting it on town products because we realized we needed a branding, and we dropped the Grow With Us because obviously the state that was the joke with a certain industry. But I think the committee, staff, the consultants, members of the SIPS committee came back to the swoosh because it was simple. People do identify with us with the Gorham to some extent, but I will say I think we burnt out the consultant financially, but if the council feels strongly about looking at something different, we can bring you more options. I'm not going to say this is the only thing you get, but I'm happy to whatever the consensus of the council is.
So I'm just going on our information. These are small signs, like on a little post, like the circular ones. Okay.
Sure. Oh, sorry. You really hit on my really specific knowledges here. The vehicle directional signs, it says here Clearview is an MUTCD required standard. That's not true. Clearview is also not, it's only approved for green background and white text and or similar dark color background and white text, and seeing it here on on these Gorham Municipal Center, Robey Park, Little Falls Activity Center, that is clearly a white background with red text. The Federal Highway Administration has not approved it for this use, and it is also, they don't require Clearview at all. We can very easily switch that to Highway Gothic, and also, Highway Gothic's free. I realize that I'm probably the only person looking at this that would have recognized something like this, but that alone is enough to give me pause, at least with a professional consultant that we paid for. If they're saying that, that's just factually incorrect.
Thank you. I don't have any information on that. I would be guessing to respond to that. So I will say that the town of Gorham just wants to be unique, and whatever you decide, we're just going to get the signs up.
But slowly. One or two signs
they'll
at a
be
time.
ordered and they'll go up soon,
Okay.
Whenever that decision is made.
To the other councilors, I realize this was worked on for a long time, but these two things enough for me to just say I can't approve this as it currently sits.
Could you, so if it was a different font, the font, would that be enough to bring you on board?
Specifically, if Clearview was changed to Highway Gothic, that would be a fix. And
I'm not married to the font, so.
I'm looking into the audience, and I think the town engineer would be the one person, I think, who would really know the MUTCD back and forward.
Could we move this forward and authorize staff
to update
to
the
look
font?
into that
I'm
font
open to that.
discussion and make that update? I'm not married to either font.
Same. All right, so we're good. So we'll make the amendment to consider Highway Gothic font. Or we'll provide that guidance.
Do you need that as a direct amendment?
Or is it okay? Just going to say it.
Thank you. I'm going to be honest. I don't think anybody is going to call us out on it. These are small. These are not. We are not going to portray these as anything that's going to conflict with the national standards. So if you trust the staff to handle it, I have full faith that they can handle it. I can't change the design here tonight of the swoosh, but I suspect that we have enough expertise in-house between the town engineer, the public works director, the community development director, and the economic development director, I'm throwing everybody under the bus, that we can solve this problem together.
Very good.
All right. Is anybody making an amendment or no, or? Are you, you made an amendment, but there was, nobody seconded it. Were you actually making an amendment, or?
Well, I was checking if it needed to
Do
be
we-
actually.
Yeah, because do we need amendment for the other piece as well, not the settled, or that we're good with that? Not using the,
For the incorporated or
Yeah.
whatever we picked?
just got that captured. Yeah, so we're good. We're not doing formal amendments, we're just making these
Okay.
color
Counselor Kush,
comments.
did you have a?
I just had another question, just because I was looking at these little signs. So will USM still have a sign under our welcome sign?
Yeah.
In our projected sign, we don't have
I think they paid on here.
Thank you. So after this was published and finalized, we actually had a conversation about offering to USM, if especially in certain areas, if they want to pay for a sign, incorporate their logo, we're happy to accommodate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Can we use founded?
I'm having an issue. I'm having a little bit of a stroke over here about
I
that,
have 1736 in my head.
yeah.
Forever and ever and ever. Founded might be a more acceptable word.
Because they founded the town of Gorham.
Correct.
But that's up to the rest of the council. I knew it was going to be only you and me that cared, but
You're allowed to care.
Mhm.
You're the historic
so.
society.
Yeah, I like founded better, but I'm not going to.
Yep. May I?
Yep, go ahead.
When you're considering the birth date of the town, which date is it? 1764?
1736, because Gorham's technically 290 years old this
Okay.
year, so, yeah.
So yes, so that should be.
If we were to say founded in that day.
Because founded and incorporated are two different things.
Yeah.
So that's,
But I feel like founded is different from settled, but that's just my opinion.
Right, well,
yeah, that's why I said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people, yeah. I just have that number in my head from the Historical Society, and people always ask me, when was the town of Gorham founded?
yeah.
Not incorporated, founded, so.
Yep. All right, so are we, should we maybe take a vote on what it says? 'Cause- okay.
Tell me what you want.
I don't know, is everybody okay with it saying founded 1736?
No.
I'm totally incorporated. Founded, what does that mean?
Incorporated day?
We celebrate Founder's Day.
Right.
All right, maybe we should take a vote on that? Okay. All right, so are you making a motion to have it say founded 1736?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Are we having
Oh,
discussion
you
on
want
the
to have some
amendment?
discussion? Okay, let's have some discussion.
I was willing to go with incorporated, but realistically, founded is not a realistic word for what was done. And I think incorporated is a fine middle ground, but this land was stolen. This land was given by somebody who didn't have the power to give it. And I can't say founded because this land wasn't founded at that time. It was incorporated under, the government at the time, but yeah, I'm just not good with founded.
Founded, incorporated, it was still stolen, so what does it matter?
All right, anybody else have any comments on the founded incorporated conversation? All right, we'll just go to a vote. All those in favor of the amendment to say founded 1736? All those opposed? Hamblin, Kush, and Cedal. All right, so it's going to say incorporated 1764.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Are we all done discussing? All right. All those in favor,
I'm sorry,
all those in favor of the item?
Of the plan, moving the item forward, yeah.
Yeah.
with incorporated.
Yeah.
All those opposed? Councilor Seaver.
Item 2026, 3-5, action to consider amendments to the Land Use and Development Code for Industrial Zone Idling Standards, Ordinance Committee sponsored. Proposed Order 2676, ordered that the Town Council accepts the recommendation of the Ordinance Committee to take no action on adopting industrial zone idling standards at this time.
Their motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
By Councilor Sims.
So I want to be very, very, very clear to everyone watching. This says that the ordinance committee recommends to take no action. That does not mean we are not doing anything with this. We discussed it with the police chief, and we also reached out to Wyndham's police chief because they have an idling standard. And what basically came from that conversation was it is almost impossible to enforce idling standards. There's a state law around it. It just doesn't happen, right? Because if somebody actually does contact the police and say, hey, there's a car here idling, by the time the police get there, it's usually just gone. And so through our conversation, the ordinance committee was more interested in looking at impacting this through our noise standards rather than the idling standards, because those will make it easier for us to actually enforce while having a very similar result. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware why this says no action at this time regarding idling.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about was really the real issue. This was kind of more looking at like in industrial zones. The real issues we've got dealing with is where we've got industrial zones directly abutting residential zones. That's where we're creating problems for ourselves and for our residents. So, as Councilor Siegel was saying, you know, there's going to be other methods that we're hoping to employ that will be more effective.
Any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? 7 yeas. Thank you.